greetings. Good day, everyone. It is another edition of Heart to Heart. I feel like I've been off of here for a while, but it may be because I've been off for a week. And then, like this weekend, I actually had a retreat, and that was rewarding yet tiring in a way because you have to give energy. You have to really, and this was a grief retreat, and I was just like, for most of it, it was fulfilling, but then for other parts, I felt it. And we did some African dance. We did a lot of stuff. Today, we have on Claudia. We are going to be discussing having fun with spirituality because a lot of times on our journey, on our healing path, whatever you way you wish to describe it, we forget to have fun. And that's one thing. Oh, this is great because at the retreat, that's what we that's exactly what we did. We had fun. We Okay, let me just accept your request. All right, perfect. Um that was the one of the ways we got in touch with our heart. We got in touch with who we were, and I was able to lead the participants in that way as well. We had fun with it. That was the dance. Oh my goodness. We were doing so much with that dance instructor. She was helping us so much. Sometimes Instagram likes to act up, but I saw your request and I accepted you, Miss Claudia. Let's see what's going on. Sometimes you just have to do this multiple times, but that's okay. Hi, babe. How are you? What's up? Okay, we got you in now. Hi.
Hi. Where's Steph?
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I was just telling everybody I had to facilitate at this retreat this weekend. And one of the things we did, because this is what me and you are going to be talking about, fun in spirituality. We had fun at that retreat, even though it was a grief retreat. There was a lady who came in and taught dance. She taught African. It was like, oh my goodness, it was so fun. It really was. Well,
Sounds good.
us it was. Tell us, Claudia, how did you start to incorporate fun into your spiritual growth?
So I think for me, I've always, as you know, I've got like a performing arts background, so I was already sort of doing comedy, but then I decided that I didn't want to do acting anymore, and I was sort of like wondering how I could marry the two things together. But then, to be honest with you, it just came naturally, because I think, yeah, when we're going through this journey, there are just so many things that, like I was saying to you last time about like conversations with the universe and stuff, or like when you manifest the wrong thing, like there's so much comedy within that, and we could just, when things I guess go wrong, we could look at them and be like, oh, why has this gone wrong? I'm so angry. Or we could be like, well, this is pretty funny, actually. If you're watching up there, then,
Right.
good job. Well done.
Well, tell me about some of those comedic moments because you spoke specifically about the universe, and it's like, why did you give me that? Like, this is funny. Was
Yeah.
there a specific thing that's happened to you or for clients that you found peculiar, funny here recently?
I think it's all the time, really, because it's like, we learn these lessons all the time, right? Every time we go through challenges or just anything, really, it's like, what's the lesson? What's the lesson? What's the lesson? So sometimes, or sort of like, I'll mention one specific sketch that I made that was about yeah, so say that I'm like looking to manifest love or whatever, which I did, and it's like, oh, amazing, this is great, thank you, oh good, it worked out. And then actually like that ends, and then you have to purge everything out, and then this actually sent me on a journey of self-love, and to get back in touch with myself and just discover more about myself. So it was kind of like, again, I could have just, I mean, it was upsetting, but then it was kind of like, the sketch that I made about it was saying exactly that. They were like, I didn't really mean that I wanted to like drag up all the stuff, my family's ancestral
Right.
trauma, all this stuff. Like, that's not what I said, really. I just want the love. So that's one specific one, because I made it. Yeah, I made a sketch specifically about that. But I think, yeah, it's always like that. Like, there's always, and at some point you're just kind of like, okay, I get this is a lesson. What is the lesson? Like, I'm not getting it. It's like being at school and you're like, I don't get it. I don't, you know.
Have you always been like this energetic and this actor type? Like, have you always been this way, or did you come to this with your own self discovery?
I think, and this is how spirituality has helped me, and acting. So I was always like this, but then I did what I think a lot of people do, which is you kind of hide like your light and who you are, and you kind of try to just, not, I guess, stand out too much or whatever. Like, so with acting, as well, like the school I went to, nobody really did it. So it was always something that was kind of like, oh, and that's kind of why I moved away as well, because I was like, I can be with my people in a sense. But so I think, yes, but that's kind of part of the journey, is sort of like, which is what we all have to do, actually. It's like we have to discover who we are, as opposed to trying to be everybody else. And comedy, and because I am like this, I think it took a lot of people saying to me, like, you've got really good comedic timing, because in acting I had to find a niche, and I was like, I don't know what my niche is. I don't know. And then everyone kept saying the same thing. I had like really good facial expressions, and I was like, well, that's interesting. Maybe I am funny. And so, and so then I'm kind of like, okay, right now I need to, yeah, just be myself. And because this is who I am naturally, without trying to like hide it.
That's super cool because what you said is so critical. We do often hide our light. Like I found myself doing that. And me and you had discussed this too, like even in my performance stuff, trying to sing like another singer instead of just singing like myself. And we get stuck in those things because for me, I was just trying to be somebody else because I thought that is what was accepted. And I was not going to be accepted as who I am. Have you ever felt that way? Like you felt like you may not be accepted as fully Claudia if you do this or if you show this
Yeah.
part of yourself?
So pretty much just frozen. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
It's just like frozen.
I I can hear you fine. Continue to speak.
Okay. So yeah, so I've felt like that my whole life, really, until very recently.
You felt that in your life until recently.
Yeah, so until pretty recently, because I guess, yeah, like just the world that we live in and going to school and everything, you just I guess you don't really get taught to express yourself. Um, and it's like, you know, music, drama, art, they're all kind of like side subjects, you know? And so I didn't grow up in an environment where I felt that I could be myself. Um, but yeah, so that was kind of part of it, of me believing that I could even do it, like the comedy and everything, because I was just like, I was always trying to like not shine my light and like hide who I was, because I don't know, it's just the world that I guess we live in, you know. And I know that there's like, it's changing, but it's just, yeah, like you were saying before, it's like trying to be somebody else and seeing kind of like what everybody else is doing, when in reality, like, all we need to do is be ourselves.
And I think it is, because a lot of it is the world we live in, because we watch, I know this is what happened for me. I watched other people be compensated monetarily or with fame for doing it their way, for performing their way, for expressing their way, for creating their way. So I'm like, well, I need to follow their path because they're going to get the money over there. And if I be myself, am I going to get the fame? Am I going to get the notoriety? Am I going to earn money and be able to support my family or just support myself in essence? And those are the things with which come up with
Yeah.
self-expression. What would you say to somebody like an artist out there, similar to you, whether they are an actress or whatever, who's struggling with self-expression?
So this is something I actually help people with, because again, I think it can be really tricky when you first start, because like it's sort of like it was there all along. Like, we all know what we love to do, what we want to do, but I guess because there are so many masks that we put on and there are so many beliefs that we have, that sometimes it's really difficult to kind of find that. And so I think I've made a video about this as well. I I always ask this question. It's like, if you could do anything, right? Like, and like, in the money wasn't a thing, and you could just, from now, like, you could just do whatever it was that you wanted, like, and what is that thing, right? And people even struggle with this, but it's just sort of like about just taking the time to reconnect with what you loved to do as a child, for example. So stuff like that really helps with self-expression. So like coloring books, and like just I don't know, just running around, dancing, just doing things where, yeah, so like movement and sound, just doing things without really thinking about it. And I actually made a video about this just now, about actor training, but I was like, it's really good for that, because it just gets you moving, it gets you, you know, crying, screaming, doing whatever, but then it releases all of this stuff, and then you can like um you can start to focus on what you want to do. But I think um yeah, just definitely things that you don't really have to think about, and then it'll just start to come naturally.
Hmm. So it's almost like don't think, just feel, so to speak.
Yeah, because that's what we do, isn't it? Even like when sometimes we're having, like, so I used to do this, I still do it a little bit, but I have to rationalize it in my brain. So it's like, even with stuff like this, like, okay, so I'm doing this thing because this is going to help me to heal in this area. But it's like, sometimes you just need to just do things just because you enjoy them, you know, like children do, like I said, on, you know, animals do. If an animal wants to run around, it'll just run around. There's no reason for it, you know. But that's
I
what we
know.
never do that. It's kind of like, we mustn't, you know, we're in public where we've got to do the dishes, we've got to do whatever. So it's kind of like, just every once in a while, go wild, you know.
Go away. You reminded me yesterday because I was watching this little squirrel, and that's what he was doing. He had his nut, and then he was just going over there. He was scurrying over there. I was like, I just want to be the squirrel. And that's exactly what I do a lot.
Yeah,
I will dance in the kitchen while making my food, or I will, like my boyfriend jokes at me because I'll break out in a dance at any time
yeah,
because it's playful. It's fun. Yeah. The energy is calling us to play and have fun. Yes, create your blue zone. We
Exactly.
do have to have fun. Okay, what are some other stuff you like doing for fun?
What do I like doing for fun? Well, it's funny that you said that because I do that all the time. And it's so weird. Like sometimes I'll just put a song on, just be on, and then all of a sudden I'll just start moving, like if one hand starts going, then another one, and then all of a sudden I'm just
Oh
like
my goodness.
dancing in the living room. And I've got two cats, and the cats are looking at me like, what are you doing? But so that's one of the things I do all the time, dancing. And singing, I sing a lot around the house as well. Um, I don't, yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know how the neighbors feel about that. Sometimes I think it's good.
Right?
Exactly. I haven't had any complaints yet. But see, stuff like this, you see, that would be a perfect, like, funny sketch. But again, it's like I'm releasing, I'm doing movement, voice, or whatever, and then your neighbors are like, shut up. And you're just like, I'm
You're
healing,
like
leave me
banging
alone.
on the door and would you just be quiet?
Exactly. And you're like, no, this is my healing time. Um, but yeah, just things like that. The thing I mentioned about animals, I think that people should always, like, if you can, spend time around animals and children. So like I said, I've got two cats. So they're only two, so they break stuff all the time, which is not it's not funny at the time, but then it is funny. So I spend a lot of time just like hanging out with them, because they do. You can play with them as well. It's the same with children. It's like it depends. If you surround yourself with just seriousness, then you can't. It's quite difficult to have fun. So I think my friends that I have, like I laugh a lot with them. Like I always surround myself with people that I can laugh with. And like yeah, just writing and making sketches and stuff. That's super fun for me as well.
It's so cool because you can make a sketch out of it. Like you just said, the one
Anything.
with the singing and the I'm just singing, I'm healing, I'm da 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 da
Yeah.
da. What would you do with the because I know some people who use singing bowls or stuff like that. How could that be turned into something funny or fun or whatever? Like the people using the
Yeah.
singing
Yeah.
bowl.
Yeah, I think for stuff like that, I always because this is something I'm interested in actually, but there'll definitely be stuff that will come if I was to do that, if I was in a lesson. But I always find those lessons really funny anyway. It's like when I went to a yoga class with my friend one time. I love yoga, I do yoga all the time. I went to a class with her and we couldn't stop laughing because it's just everyone is just so calm and nice, and then you just imagine them going outside and just having really bad road rage or something. So
I
it's
know.
like so it's the same with like the balls. It's just they're all like, oh, hello, but then it's kind of like they just go to the bathroom and just like start kicking or whatever. And then you hear them, and then they come out and they're like, right, let's get back to it now. But then again, like being in that environment, it depends sort of like what happens in there, because like I said, people are just funny anyway. Like there's literally like I think how people talk about having like writer's block. I've always had
Hmm.
the opposite, that it's like it doesn't stop. So my brain constantly all the time is just constantly thinking of ideas all the time. Doesn't matter what I'm doing, I'll be like, oh, idea, and there's like it's not enough time in the day, but like I see these things sometimes about it's like what to make for 30 days or whatever, and I'm like I've got ideas for the next 7 years or something. There's just all this, you can find comedy in everything, I think.
And that's what's beautiful because some people will tell you not to laugh
I know.
through things. They'll be like, this is serious,
Yeah.
especially. I can think you are reminding me of something because I had to speak at my father's funeral. And there was some comedy in what I said because
Yeah.
it was, even though it was sharing the wisdom of his life and things like that, there were some comedic moments because people need to laugh in those times, just like what we're talking about. It's traumatic. People are crying, and so we can't laugh. We can't
Yeah.
laugh and cry at the same time.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm exactly that sort of person. I'm just like I've always said this. I'll be on my deathbed telling knock knock jokes, because it's like, well, I do that when I'm sick. I'm just like, you know, you know, sometimes you feel like a cliche. So like if I'm ever sick or whatever, I'm just like, oh, I'm so like pathetic, and it's just like funny. It helps me to feel better, you know. If I was there, literally, like sometimes you see people and they're literally just like, oh my god, everything's so hard, and I'm just like, if I ever do that, then I catch myself out and I laugh at myself because it's like, what, like this is hilarious, like, you know. And exactly that. I think that's the issue, that so many people, especially in today's world, they're like offended with things, and it's like you said, you can't laugh and cry at the same time. This is a serious matter. Of course there are serious things in the world, but that is exactly why we need to laugh more. Like, I just, again, I don't see why it has to be one or the other, you know. It's like, and in relationships as well, like, you need laughter. It literally helps you to get through things, to process emotions, you know. Sometimes I'll be crying and then I'll start laughing, or the other way around, you know. It helps with everything. Like, there's nothing bad to it, you know?
Yeah, because it all goes together. Like, we're emotional creatures. And
Yeah.
it's not like in order to laugh, you have to cut off your tears, or in order to laugh, you can't be at work. Like, no, we're at work. We can't. Or even what we're talking about with, oh, I'm doing yoga, this. And at the retreat this weekend, too, that was the thing, because some of these women had never done yoga. So it was comedic to see some of them try to get down on the ground and all of this stuff, because that was me. And you know what's interesting about this, Claudia, too? We laugh because we can relate.
Yeah.
Because that was me one day. I couldn't do these poses. It was like, so I'm almost laughing at myself. I'm not really laughing at them.
Exactly. Exactly that, though. It's like when I make these sketches, it's like I'm not making fun of anybody else. I'm making fun of myself. This has happened to me, and I know that other people relate because it happens to everyone, right? So it's exactly that. You're like, oh yeah, I remember when I couldn't do that. And it's like, but also something like that, for example, a yoga class. It's like, you know, I mean, I like people with character anyway, right? So it's like if I go to something like that, you know, why can't, you know, you say a joke in between a pose or whatever? Like, it's not, it doesn't have to be, you know, it's, I just, it's, oh my God, my cats are literally fighting. There's a comedy sketch right here. Um,
What are they fighting over?
I don't know. They just do that, cats, don't they? They've had some disagreement. They're probably jealous or something. I don't know.
It's okay. That's what the cats do. Like, one of my friends, she has four cats. Oh, funny story, because we're
Yeah.
talking about this. So I was staying with this friend while I transitioned before I moved down here to Atlanta. One of the cats, this is what he would do. He knew I was going outside, so he would skip past the door, then he would run under the car, then he would see me and play with me, then he'd go under the other car. I had to chase this little cat,
Yeah.
and he knew I was trying to make it to work on time, but he did not
But
care.
that's the
He
thing.
he did not care. This cat was, I just laughed, because what was I going to do? I wasn't, and I told him that too. I said, I'm not going to chase you. I'm gonna let you run in the garage if you want to run under that car again, whatever you want to do, but eventually I'm going to get you back in this house.
Yeah.
But the cat was so funny.
But they are. Look, do you know? Funny that you say this story. The reason why I actually started writing my own stuff, right, was because I was having like a video call with an artistic director of this theater because I wanted to talk about I don't remember who he was doing at the time. Anyway, we had like a virtual meeting, and my housemate had a little kitten, and it was like, I think it had run out the door or whatever. So I was trying to get the cat back in, but like this meeting was on, and then I was just kind of like, oh, I'm really sorry. Like, I was just
Oh
really frantic. Like, I
no.
was like, I'm really sorry, but this cat, whatever, whatever, whatever. And he just started laughing, and he was like, you could totally write about this. Like, that's hilarious. You're just trying to go to the meeting, and then there's this cat, and you're like, it's like it keeps coming in the camera, and you're just like, go away. This is serious. I'm trying to be serious, you know? But that was why, because he said to me, he was like, this is hilarious, you know? And you know, because I'm trying to be like, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm late. It's the cat. And, you know, that's when people are funny, right? When they're real, right? If I was trying to be funny, I wouldn't have been funny. And he would have been like, you're late. But because I was like,
It's like,
oh, you
chop,
know,
chop, I know.
exactly, exactly. But it's funny, but that's why I'm saying to you, like, I always give this advice to people. I always say to people, you can borrow my cat if you want. Spend time around animals, because there's just, you can't not have fun. Like, even if you're just like a really grumpy person, you know, you just spend like a few hours with a cat or any animal actually, and then you can't not love them. Like, I've met so many people like this who are not animal people, and then they end up being animal people, you know. So I think this is one of the best ways to have fun. And if you have children as well, like, kids are exactly the same. They're just so naughty and cheeky, and you know, I say this because I was a nanny for a long time, so I spend a lot of time with children and in schools and stuff, and yeah, they're just, again, they just don't care. They just do what they want. They just say what they want, and I think we really need to just be more like this as grown-ups, you know.
I agree. And I see you chuckling, Angie. There's a person, my friend, AK Catwoman, she has cats, so she knows. She's laughing
Ah,
at these stories.
it's like when you
She told,
get,
but you're right. You're so right. We have to be more, and I think we forget that, especially when it comes to our spiritual growth, that this should be fun. We should be like animals because the Creator even created us to be free, be one with nature, all of this stuff. And then if a bird poops on our head, it's okay. Like, it's like, what are we gonna do? Like, I mean, this stuff has happened to me before, and I'm just like, what can I do? I'm sitting here trying to have my peaceful moment outside, and here comes a little bird, or here comes a squirrel, or here comes a grasshopper, or something like, just, or the fly. Like, the other week, we had this fly in the house, and it was annoying me. I was like, who are you, fly? Why
yeah,
won't you leave me alone? Like, it was a person. It was just like,
exactly. I do that. I speak to everything again. I would be the same. I'd be like, what is universe, like, what are you trying to say to me? I don't get it. Well, who was this fly? Like, I need a little bit more. You know, give me some words. This fly is not telling me anything. But yeah, but like you do the same as me. Like, by the sounds of it, you're just kind of like, you know, you're just doing a thing, and then something happens, and you're just like, well, what am I gonna do?
yeah, because you can't do anything about it, because, and you just have to laugh. Because I've had, and I tell my clients that too, because I'm teaching them how to get over the heartbreak, the
Yeah,
breakup. Sometimes you got to laugh at this stuff. You really have to say, wait a minute, did I really date that person? Like, this is what I've asked myself. I'm like, I actually dated that guy? Oh my goodness. I was like, this
me.
is comedy. Me? Yeah, because no, let me tell you, there was this one guy I dated. Like, he was looking for gum under. We had actually gone to a comedy club, but he was the comedy, but he was looking for gum under the table. I was like, what was he gonna do? Eat it? Like, I didn't know what was going on. Like, needless to say, I did not go out on a date with him again. But these are the things, right? We can find comedy in our pain, and that's what comedians do, like
Yeah,
yourself, and performers like yourself. And it's not making light of it. It is just, it's healing. It's part
yeah.
of the healing
Laughter
process.
is healing. Like, and you know, I have to ask, did he find some chewing gum?
Oh, he found some, but he didn't. He never, and it was so strange because at the time I was not as bold.
Mm,
So I didn't ask him what he was doing. I
yeah,
just, yeah, the red flags. I just noticed. I was paying attention and I was like, wait a minute, is this guy really doing
right.
what I think he's doing? Like, this is weird. This is
Yeah.
strange.
I mean, come on, dating is like one of the best things to make comedy out of. Like, you know, it's just the show that I did last year, actually, my it was my first solo show, my first theatre show. It talked about that a lot. It was like the typical. It was like half stand up, half comedy, but it was like typical. You know, moving to London in search of the dream, whatever, whatever, and then kind of everything that happened. You know, and everything's like relatable to London. You know, paying £1,000 to live like in a little box room, but you're like, but the dream. But then also part of it is the men that I met. Right, the like my dating life, and like people just loved that because I had different characters for these people, and it was just like, again, like the someone said, like the red flags. It is like, it's hilarious when you're like, look at all the red flags, and you're just like, fine. It's fine.
I'll go for it.
What's wrong with it? It's fine. And then yeah, later on you're like, oh wow, okay, I think everyone's had that. Like, I dated that person, that happened. Yeah, okay, well, you know, let's not do that again. But dating's hilarious. The cliche thing I was telling you about, I've also done this, you know, after breakups, you know, when I'm watching a movie, eating chocolates, crying, then I'll start laughing because I'm like, I mean, you're literally, get the cameras out. Get the cameras out, I'm ready.
Oh my goodness. That's because you're talking about dating and then you're talking about London. Because you live, tell us where you live
So I
again.
live in Edinburgh now, in Scotland.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, y'all who are in the States, she is in Scotland. But the dating thing is like comedy too, because of like we have online dating now. I mean, online dating, of course, has been out for a while,
Yeah.
but it's still funny. Oh my goodness, there is this show that comes on Instagram. It's called Kendra G. It's this woman here in the States.
Right.
And you're making me think about the comedy because she'll have people come on looking for dates. But some of the stuff that comes out of these people's mouths, like the other day I was watching this episode, a lady like flat out lied. So the host was like, she said, how old are your children? She was like, well, I think one is 12. And then I was like, what is going on?
I think.
But sometimes you even have to watch from the outside because what I do, and here's what I do because I am self-care boss, when I'm watching these things, whether it's you or her broadcast, I'm always turning it back to me and
Yeah.
saying, have I ever done that? Have I ever lied in the way that that lady did? Or have I ever had a healing moment like that where it was that comedic or whatever? And I think that's what's important too, not to, going back to this, not just laughing at the person on the screen,
Yeah.
but putting it back on us, the focus back on us. What lesson can I learn from
Yeah.
this?
Exactly. It's about being relatable, like what you were saying. It's sort of like, has this happened to me? And also, I also like to think of, yeah, why people do things, you know, because I feel like I used to be, I think everybody's like a little bit judgmental. I know that some people will be like, no, absolutely not, but I think it's just human nature. But I used to be like very judgmental, just because of how I grew up, and now I always just I understand people so much better, and there's always a reason behind. So like lying, for example, or hurting other people or whatever, there's always a reason behind it. So yeah, it isn't all about the comedy. It's also like, you know, what is actually the issue, because you can also use comedy as a crutch. You know, there are loads of people that do this, you know, and then they never talk about the actual problems, which is why like my content isn't just like comedy. Sometimes it's like you know, just heartfelt stuff, messages or things that I've learned, you know. And but I just, like I said, I just think that, yeah, especially when you're healing, it's a good thing to have. It's like yeah, it's like, let's learn and let's heal and, yeah, relate to other people, but also try and have a good time, like while we're here. But yeah, I think the lying thing, I feel like everybody lies sometimes, you know, stuff like that, and you don't know why. It's, you know, sometimes when you do that, when you just say something and then you're like, I think that's really funny though, because she was like, I think, because they were her kids. But you know, when you do that and then you're kind of like, oh, why did I just do that? But again, it's about being aware of these things, right? Because it's like, again, we're human, we're allowed to make mistakes. It's just obviously like, don't carry it on. But yeah.
It is the awareness, and I know I found it with myself. The more I became aware of why I was doing things
Mm-hmm.
or what was motivating me, was it really myself? Was it my parents? Was it a past relationship? Was it an old belief that I really didn't believe in anymore
Mm-hmm.
that was motivating me to do these things? And on this journey, on this spiritual path, that's what the lessons I've learned, that some of the stuff wasn't even my own, and I had to let that go too. And that was hard
Yeah.
because,
I
yeah.
think that so no, I think that definitely happened to me. That I realized that I there were so many beliefs I had adopted, so many labels, like the whole person who I thought I was. And then at one point, I was just, it just hit me, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't actually think this. I know that I say this, but I don't actually believe this, or I don't actually agree with this. But it's just something that's like, like just so buried deep within that then you're just like, I don't even know who these beliefs are anymore. And I think that's what the journey is all about, like I was saying at the beginning, about like rediscovering yourself, right? I don't think that anybody, like it's all about, I'm sure you will have heard this, but it's all about peeling back the layers, like not the other way around. It's not about
Mhm.
trying to be anything. It's just about being yourself. It's always about being yourself. It's always about going back to your roots. It's always going back to who you were as a child or what you wanted to do as a child, right? But that completely happened to me because I grew up with just my mum. And so she was like my mum, my sister, my dad, my whole family. And so she had a really tough upbringing. And so um, she I basically learned everything from her, right? And it wasn't until, like, I love her, but you know, when you grow up and you sort of separate from your parents, you then realize that maybe everything that they taught you isn't quite, yeah, who you are or what you wanted to know. They just did what they could at the time. But then I think that's what happened with me. Like as soon as I was away from her for a little while, I was just kind of like, okay, I don't actually believe any of this, and I don't want to be like this as well. Like, for example, with anger, that was something I had to work through because it was just how I was brought up. So I think, yeah, awareness is like so crucial for this journey, for any journey, for everything. Yeah.
Yeah, the really the awareness, and that's what you do so well. You make us become aware of these things, and you put your own spin on it. You're bringing awareness to experience you've had, which a great artist comedian does that. Like,
Yeah.
knows how to relate those worldwide experiences and put them on the screen and put
Yeah.
it in front of us, make us aware, make us more aware.
Yeah, I think so. As you were saying that, I just remembered, when you do, so when you go to see stand up again, they talk about real issues, right? It's not they, like, in some comedians, you know, it depends on like your, I guess, what type of comedy you like. But some comedians, you know, they're not for everybody because they do talk about like pain points that people just don't want to hear, that they don't want to talk about. But it's like, I'm sure there's a psychology to this as well, but like, um people listen better when they're laughing. Like if I'm to say to you, I'm like, right, this is the lesson that I've learned, and you know, this is what you have to do this, and you do this, and you do this, and then that's fine. You're just going to be kind of like, well, you know, I'll do it in my way or whatever, you know, like nobody likes to be told what to do. So it actually hits home like much deeper when you're laughing about it and thinking about it. Like when I go to a comedy show, I leave and I'm like, oh, that was so funny, but I also talk about the subjects that they were talking about, right? So it completely makes sense, right? That, you know, they're speakers, that's what they're doing. They just do this through comedy and they talk about their own experiences, but it's like they laugh at themselves, you know, so then
Right.
we can laugh at them as well, or with them, you know. But I just, yeah, like I said, I think you people listen better, you know, because nobody likes to be told off.
Oh no, no, nobody likes to be,
Yeah.
you need to do this and you have to do it this way. Well, as we close out, how can people stay connected with you, Claudia?
So I think my Instagram would be the main one. I post things every day. I call them my daily musings. So sometimes it's comedy, sometimes it's, like I said, like lessons and, you know, just tips, thoughts, whatever you want to call it. So Instagram, I've got a YouTube channel as well. It's all just my name. And yeah, TikTok as well. But yeah, it's all my name. That's how you'd find me.
Awesome. Y'all make sure you follow Claudia for the daily musings, lessons, all of that. And then I want you to remember today, add some fun into your day. If you were going to be this serious, you got to pay the bills today. Add some fun to that. Like you got to, some of this stuff, you got to go on a date. Add some fun to that too. We got to have comedy. We got to, and then that's just part of the growth. Okay, everybody, this has been another edition of Heart to Heart. Until next time,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.